Hello, and welcome to another episode of Brettcast Gaming Talk. So I don't think I've really done many videos about Nintendo stuff, aside from that one Legend of Zelda video that I did. So this is an idea that I got from watching another video, and I wanted to give my thoughts on it. So apparently Nintendo has this idea to make an animated Super Mario Bros. Movie. On top of that, to make said movie, they are partnering with Illumination Studios to make it. This is the studio that brought us mediocre animated movies like Despicable Me trilogy, Minions movie, Sing, The Secret Life of Pets, an upcoming Grinch movie, and probably more that I don't feel the need to list. Now, the first thing is that the movies that this studio has made are not what I would call the greatest animated movies of all time. They're simple and they're basic and do the job of appealing to the kids, which they're supposed to do. I mean, the first Despicable Me movie was pretty good, but the second one was alright, and the Minions movie was terrible in my opinion. This, in my opinion, is the problem with most of the animated movies that have a lot of sequels. The first Shrek was the best, first Toy Story was the best, first Cars, first Despicable Me movie, and so on. Illumination doesn't do anything creative in their movies, and they often reuse assets way too much. I also don't see what kind of animation style that the new Super Mario Bros. Movie would be unless they use the same style that New Super Mario Bros. The games use, that first one that came out on the DS. Now the second part falls on Mario. Mario is like the most basic character that you could ever think of. His games usually follow the formula of the damsel in distress thing for the most part. There is enough there to make an entire movie out of. Any other character in the Mario franchise would have more character development than Mario himself does. A movie has to have some kind of story, and I really don't see that with Mario on his own. Maybe if you put he and Luigi in a movie together, then you might have a bit of a story, but not quite. Then who would the villain be? The typical Bowser? I just don't see that working, because even then he's not that great of a villain. It would be kind of neat to see like Bowser and Donkey Kong work together to beat Mario and Luigi, but again, it would just turn into the whole rescue the princess thing that every Mario game does, and it just doesn't work, as we've seen way too many movies do that as well. So then my question is, why even bother to make this aside from making Nintendo more money? Remember that Mario movie from the 80s? No, well, neither does anyone else, and people who do remember it definitely want to forget about it because of how terrible it was. Just think about what happens if you take Illumination, a lackluster animation studio, with Mario, a flat and one-dimensional character, and you get the recipe for a movie that is going to fail. Nintendo would have been better off making the movie either in-house or, and I know this would be a long shot because of competition, or going and partnering with Sony Animation to make it. Just look at the upcoming animated Spider-Man movie they are working on. It looks great. I know that Nintendo and Sony are competition, but it would have been way better. They could have just went to DreamWorks Animation or even Pixar, who have way better track records over Illumination, to make this movie, since asking Sony would be a bit of a long shot. My point is that anyone but Illumination should be making this movie. But the other point I'm making is that this movie really shouldn't be made. You should just go and play some Mario games. Mario is the most restrictive character in Nintendo's lineup. For some people, when they heard about somebody making a Lego movie, they thought it was a stupid idea. How can you possibly make a movie about Lego? See, Lego is a property that lends to a lot of creative freedom. You can do anything with Lego, and therefore making a movie was not that hard to do. You don't get that with Mario. Like I said, Mario is restrictive and a one-dimensional character, and therefore there is no possible story that could fill an entire movie. On top of that, if you look at the past Illumination movies and the kinds of so-called humor they put in it, it doesn't work with the Mario movie. Minions has a lot of toilet humor and things that little kids can get a laugh out of, but none of that would work in a Mario movie. I don't hate Mario. In fact, I enjoy it. I recently acquired a 2DS. Well, actually, I'm in the stage of acquiring a 2DS and a copy of New Super Mario Bros. 2 for not a whole lot of money. And the main reason I got one is so I could play Mario games once again, and some Animal Crossing in there too. What I don't like is Illumination Studios, and I'm not afraid to tell anybody that. The amount of animated movies I watch has gone down a lot. I have not watched Sing or the Emoji Movie, but I have heard how terrible they are. With that, I would still pick Sony Animation over Illumination Studios any day. So, like, overall this is a bad idea for a movie waiting to happen. I personally don't think this movie should be made, period. If you really wanted to make a movie out of a Nintendo property, I would pick The Legend of Zelda. Those games have a ton of lore and whatnot that you could make a well-crafted movie out of. Just look at all of the positive stuff about Breath of the Wild. Now, I am indifferent to the Zelda games, but it would be a better pick over Mario. But that's all I have to say, so if you want to add to the conversation, leave a comment below. As always, thanks for listening, and goodbye.